Hello, everybody. So this is Southern Victoria Village Council meeting, April 11th, 2023. We're going to call that meeting to order. With your attendance, all good. Okay. The closure of conflict of interest. If there is no conflict of interest, if something arises, please declare it at that time. So we're going to do the approval of March 13th and the 27th minutes.
You want them together or
Oh, sorry, let's do the 13th first.
I'll move the acceptance of those?
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Delegations? Do we have any delegations?
No.
No?
Oh, you got to go to the 27th.
Oh, I'm sorry, see what I just said.
Yeah,
Okay, on the approval of March 27th minutes.
I'll move that.
Seconder, Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, delegations? No. Unfinished business. Ready?
I guess first thing, the strategic plan, we've got over 80 surveys in so far, which they're sort of starting to pick up. We've got the deadline until Friday. The feedback so far is a lot of it's, I guess, what to be expected. I guess pretty much covers all the services we provide. The hospital is a big issue, and that's separate from the doctor issue. Roads, policing, and sightly premise, expansion, electric utility, rec programs and facilities, tourism, healthcare, and the dog bylaw. And so we're still encouraging people that look, we'd like to get up over 100 to 100 in. People still have another week to put their thoughts in. So it's been quite a mixed bag so far, but all the big ones, of course, like the hospital, policing, roads, those kind of things seem to be the predominant ones. But then there's some smaller one-offs, suggestions for council too, that we'll get a summary of all those and put in with it. But these are the ones that had multiple suggestions in these areas. So it's the feedback's been good so far. So hopefully we'll get some more in, and so give everybody till the weekend to put their feedback in. We've had, out of all the ones we mailed out, I think we had 11 paper copies delivered to the office out of the 2,400 or something that we put out in the mail. But we've had some people bring it in. And the good thing about this too is that people have the opportunity for input too. So if people choose not to, at least council is good enough to extend the opportunity to everybody. So
6B, Overwatch.
yeah, so say council, so we're doing the Riverwatch updates 3 days a week right now. The feedback's been good so far. So people can see today things are starting to melt up a little bit. The water's getting a little higher now, and the flows are expected to go up by the weekend. I think up in the 80,000 range, which is sort of more of our normal typical spring runoff flows. But hopefully other than that, everything will just continue our nice slow melt.
Even when it's building up, some of the ice is not very thick, the ones that out here.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be so far. Yeah, it's kind of neat to see in town where we have melt on both sides of the river, channel on both sides.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. There was a slit across when
Yeah.
I come home.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, typically on that bend at this time of year, the whole channel will just sort of slide over and
Yeah.
things. But no, it's all good. And our emo updates too. We'll start getting more information tomorrow on what's going on in the rivers above us, as far as like cover and open water and things like that. Of course, our stuff traditionally will move first. So hopefully that the Grand Falls head pond will still be solid when ours opens up. Hopefully, and hopefully if we can get a week to 10 days between ours going and Grand Falls stuff coming, the better.
So there's no ice between below Grand Falls to Brooks Bridge. I don't think we know. I think that's gone.
Down to Rustic, I think, from Brooks's Bridge, yeah. I believe. But I'll get the update from MB Power tomorrow morning and put it in the newsletter. What?
5C, SPCA.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is not it? 60.
Yeah, the SPCA contract, yeah. And that's included in your kit. For them. And it's basically, we took basically the two bylaws that we sort of had and tried to put them together the best we can. So we had a thing in here, enforcement will reflect the current animal bylaws that are in place. That include, and then we just put the acoustic bylaw in ours. You know, eventually what we do is amalgamate the two bylaws and council create a new animal control bylaw, so. But for right now, they will enforce the two existing bylaws for each of the communities, so to speak. And so I don't know if anybody has a council wants to make a motion on that, like, I don't know if we need one, we've always had contracted out to the
So it's a
SPCA.
new one, including them, we probably should have it voted on just to.
Yeah,
We expect this animal control bylaw.
Okay, so
Municipalities.
I'll second that.
Sheila. Any discussion?
It just makes a lot of reference to this dog, maybe, is it, I know it's just
Yes,
a contract or a policy, but is there a way to put there, or maybe other items?
well, there was a reason is that we had a big issue with cats before, and so therefore, it's harder to control that. I think that's why this.
yeah, that'd be in the bylaw updates.
Okay.
Like council, for example, council last time intentionally left the cats out.
Mhm.
I guess every time council's intentionally left cats out, once we debate it, but
They usually, those things usually get handled by like the
Mhm.
community group that
Mhm.
kind of handled that.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah.
abundance back a few years ago, Libby Mosher and those guys will take it upon themselves and get them to the SPCA.
Do we need other animal, like, we'll have to, when we have the discussion, whatever, whoever does
We
it.
can't change it if they don't accept it, right? Like, they might not want to do cats.
yeah, there's some things that the SPCA feels not in their mandate. Provincially, so they're, depending on how elaborate council wants to get with an animal control bylaw. We may have to look at other enforcement for part of it, and part of it SPCA. But,
Yeah, they do horses, but they don't do cats.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
I had a hard enough time getting them to take this, didn't I? Getting
it'll seem to take a while to get the
response.
to get a rustic added, but 3 months later, better late than never. They've got some work ahead of them, it's starting at it, so.
So for the question, can I do that now? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Just one thing for that, does that count out, like in the outside limits too, or is that just in? When Perth Andover,
The
old
municipal.
Perth Andover municipal park, does that include current, the,
The,
Riverdale,
sorry,
Turning Forward?
the SPCA currently has a contract with
Okay.
the LSD portion of the community,
okay.
but when that contract expires,
then
they
we
will
have-
just be added,
Okay.
they'll just add it on with
Yeah, no,
us.
that's what I was wondering.
So it's a 7A.
Yeah, that was just the included in there, that GMB funding or
Yeah.
event funding. I included that in thing there. That's a part of for example, the funding that the rec commission had for the Winterfest. And as you can see in that funding, one of the requirements is that they have revenues from participants.
It's
Uh,
also saying that they're gonna have at least 25% of their tickets purchased for people living at least 75 kilometers outside the community.
Yeah.
So how would we account that?
Well, the government doesn't require us to audit it, but it's just rule of thumb that how many people came, like, for example, that event, we had people come from Sackville for that event.
When I was there, I saw a lot of people from outside, there, people from downriver and.
Yeah, they came, they wanted to see the dog sled team is why they came. Yeah, they came. I think it was Sackville, New Brunswick. They get up that morning, drove just to be here first thing for the dog sled stuff, so yeah, like there'd be people in the way that those events, like the province is trying to foster these events that aren't just community events. they want them to have a big enough budget so they can advertise and bring people from neighboring through within the region, so to speak.
Mhm.
So it's just not for people from Perth Andover, that it'd be for
Mhm.
outside, so.
And then afterwards, the people can have the facilities for free. Right, like the stuff that was left over.
Oh,
like,
goodness,
for example,
that's-
like that.
That's like in Market Break and different times they had this, a sliding hill and everything, there's the tubes there and had people volunteer and do the
Yeah, there's
supervising and
a
everything
lot
for a
of
lot of it.
3 hours.
Yeah.
In this valley.
Yeah, so the province just released this on April 4th, so I sent this out to, of course, to the festival committees in town, just to make sure they had a copy of it and things, and I think Roddy had already had his thing done up that morning, I think he told me,
Yeah,
sent off. So.
good.
So if in future, we wanted to apply for something similar. Like we did this year, I don't know if you can reapply every year,
Yeah,
Yeah, again, I think.
then we're required to have some sort of revenue from it.
yeah,
So
when you read that,
If we want to do it free to the municipality. Like the big hoopla this year. Should council kick in? The money that everybody wanted to give it all for free for, like,
I don't think we wanted to get it all for free.
Great, no, it wasn't that at all.
we didn't want to charge for it,
Maybe you charge it all.
is that what, is it a percentage?
yeah, I'm not sure how the province evaluates that, like if they're hoping that. Like some of this is, and some of these is sort of seen as seed money that eventually that if the. Event builds up its own revenue base, that it would need as much financial support. I'm not sure what the goal of the province is with this program, like if they're hoping that. The ones that are showing to be more self-sufficient, like for example, with some festivals, I know the Hullabaloo, that some of their funding was tied to how much of a budget they had. So if you're not showing revenue or things like that, so again, I'm not sure quite how the province is funding this one, like what their parameters are. Like, I think right now they're just happy to have people applying and want them to follow the protocols behind it, so to speak. But I don't think they're coming back to audit us on attendance and how much revenue we brought in. Did we bring in 500 or 5,000? Like, I don't, they may in the future, when we reapply, they may want to know our revenue numbers.
So you get half the funding and then you can provide the final report to the other half.
I believe that's what it, yeah.
So that in that report, it probably, like, to say that we don't have to account for how we track people from outside. I don't know if that's what a final report looks like. Is there a way to go back and ask them if that's what the expectation is?
Yeah, I can find out if they have I can get a copy of the final report we had to send in for this one.
It's my opinion, when you look at that letter, it's pretty well stating right out there, they're looking for 25% to be out of the past 75.
Yeah, I just
I
don't
mean, they're
know
looking for a number.
if they're not asking us to provide like postal code and community buys a ticket, then that's, if you ask them, they don't. have
But
to
even
do
if they're
it.
in Kilburn or anything, they're outside the.
75 kilometers away.
I just think with this, if these types of funding, if people don't understand what the government's expecting.
Mhm.
Then we have a lot of volunteers that put a lot of time and energy into some of these things that got thrown under the bus earlier in the spring. And they did not, huh?
I read your email.
Yeah, I know, and I have people that worked on it for 6 months.
And I've also talked to a lot
They
of,
didn't want to have to charge.
right, they didn't want, that's
They thought they
right,
had to.
I had a person, I won't say his name, that actually sat down and talked to me just to let me know that he did not charge for all of these things, and it was so that it would be for the children.
But they might not have known that he was gonna do it for free from the beginning.
Well, I'm sure they probably did on that situation.
Okay.
Okay, and the thing is, when people volunteer their time and volunteer their money, they're not out to look to earn a dollar or praise or whatever. They're doing it to help. They want those kids to be able to go up there and play and not have to worry about where they're gonna get the $8. Really. I mean, to me, if you wanna do something to make money, do something. Pine Hockey, they make their money on that tent thing. They make a lot of money on that tent thing. But they also have things during the day they do for children and there's no charge. Like, to me, we have to look at a different way of doing it than the children. because a lot of children didn't get to go, and I was actually standing in when people turned away and left.
But there was a lot of people that went there after that day.
Yes,
and got
enjoyed it
to
after,
enjoy it.
and that's what.
And there was
makes
no
the first-
charge events that week
No.
also, wasn't
Eh,
there?
but
Yeah,
I
there were
mean,
no charge
but I-
events during that weekend too.
well, just the
There was no
ticketing.
charge events.
But there was no charge for any of the things that were in the Elks Club, that was all involved, that we pay, and our tax dollars are paying for people that come from away to have it for free. When we don't charge. If we
Well,
make
to
it
me,
a regional.
to me, we can look, and we'll talk about that next spring or next, whatever, our next event. And we'll go over those things. And another thing, you know what, it's not about not charging me. It was that I was getting the crap and not knowing a thing about it. Like, and that's why I'm gonna push that every counselor, if they're on a committee, they need to come back and tell us what they talked about. Then that way it gives us all a clear going forward. I don't want 2 or 3 counselors not being including with stuff, and I'm not talking as mayor at all. I'm talking as a counselor for the last couple of years, not knowing half the things that went on.
The Freeze Fest committee was a committee all on
But
its own,
we-
the recognition weren't all on that committee.
But
So we weren't involved in organizing, it. They had their own committee. for
But
that.
even me, it's just coming in fresh and new, I knew nothing about
But
the
we-
freeze.
we
Yeah,
didn't know. I
I
was
didn't know.
I didn't know. I didn't know, but we,
So when
we
that
give,
email escalated and kind of went crazy, I was like, oh my.
we
man,
give
like, this is
Justine
how-
her, that's her job.
Well, I mean, we are council, and if we're charging for something, we kind of should know what's kind of going on in our own community.
So we,
We should know what's going on. I mean, we all talked about the Freeze Fest. We've seen the little pamphlets. We should have knew at that time that it was gonna be a charge.
Cindy, there.
The little
was
library.
prices,
No,
wasn't it on there?
no.
No.
I was as surprised as anybody.
I think my question wasn't, it was definitely not at the Freeze Fest, it was basically a question. So that we know the expectation of government, so they're not gonna withhold funding, like if we do apply for it, because. If they would accept, just ask, because you don't have to give your postal code to anybody, and you can refuse to get it, is that going to hold up the second part of the funding? That's really just the information. I'm looking for. Because that seems onerous for something like Freeze Fest, for something like anything to get that data.
Yeah, I think the intent of it is for communities to do regional type events as opposed to just a municipal, like, for example, a curling bonspiel for the local community type thing.
Yeah.
That this be an event that is larger scale, that would attract more people, have more opportunities, things like that.
Yeah.
Just to eliminate some of the smaller.
I can see what they're trying to do, it just puts a real. I mean, that's pretty dominant statement to put in there for that amount, and how do you track it, that's.
Yeah, I've never heard of the province asking for audits on where people came from for any festival.
Yeah.
In any funding we've gotten in the past, we've never had it.
is this a new funding thing?
Yeah, it's just
That
started,
is new, so-
actually just started last year, and they rolled it out, just, it wasn't open to everyone, we were approached to apply for it.
Okay.
And it's part of the invitation New Brunswick promotion this year. But they're doing a dry one to try to get communities to start festivals, something above and beyond like the typical winter carnival, sort of the next level. A regional winter carnival that could attract.
Yeah, if they look for feedback on it, I would say, the living at least 75 kilometers outside the community would tell them that that's kind of like almost an impossible thing to judge, because people are coming along buying a ticket and going in.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to track.
So I assume when communities fill that out, they just say yes, that they did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would believe, but I'll
Right.
say, I'll find some more information on that, and I'll get the copy of the final report that we sent in for council.
Like 7B. Right?
Oh, yeah, there's the community capacity and resilience report, I got it in your kit.
Yeah.
Just sort of, I think I put at the start, the Western Valley activities as part of that. And then in the back of that, there's more detailed information on what the province is doing in the different areas, what their impact areas that they're trying to focus on. And it's they set these up with every RSC. It's a provincial government employee that's coordinating it in our region. I believe it's Ally Ross is doing it in our region. So you can sort of see the different areas and different projects they're doing. So in our region, they did 8 activities that are considered, I guess, not started, that they're working on. And you can sort of see on the I guess, third page in on that, the Region 12, Western Valley, Perth Amber, Woodstock, and sort of description of what they're working towards. So that's just more information.
So do they have a committee or just coming out of regional service commission?
They have a regional committee, but
They were having a regional committee, but I never heard of who was in the committee from the region or who's in.
yeah, I'm not quite sure. At one time, they had different individuals on it, different mayors and different people from different stakeholder areas. A lot of government employees were on it from different departments. As you can see, it's kind of all over the place with the projects that they're looking at, whether it be economic security, housing, health, social services, environmental, and then community capacity stuff. So it's quite a range of stuff they're trying to tackle.
Is this the same? Is this shorter than the electronic?
Yes, what I put in the kit is shorter, yeah.
Yeah,
So. I just have a question. When did all this start? It seems like across the province, none of, when they report. How far the progress is, there's maybe only 1 to 3 of these initiatives even started or being worked on.
Yeah, I
Is
think
this a while ago or is it now?
uh,
See how I gave you that opening?
yeah, that's a nice lead. Yeah. Different parts of the province have been handled this through government employees have been managing the former version of this, and they've sort of transitioned it now to like an RSC type model. And so the hope is, I think, through the more uniform management through all 12 RSCs in the province, being maybe a more consistent product in every region. So that's kind of a gist of it, but it was, I guess it's new since it's coming under the umbrella of the RSC mandate now, so to speak. But
So we'll probably see a lot more activity on it.
hopefully,
hopefully.
Because I cases are hanging out, they better.
It just stood out that
Yeah.
I've never seen a program rollout where. There's not, I haven't started, really, and so I was wondering. how
The
long-
details will follow.
Okay.
That's what they keep saying for everything we've done. Details will follow.
yeah, that next item was kind of interesting, that I come across the university, Western did up a sort of a toolkit, and there's a link in there that I encourage counselors to, if you have time, take a look at. But it's sort of measure how welcoming your community is to immigrants and things. It's kind of kind of interesting that obviously we're not we're not there yet, but it is kind of an eye opener too, and I guess immigrants for us too, when we look at it. It's the influx of everybody we've had from Ontario, not necessarily just foreign workers, so to speak, but new people moving in the community and services we provide them or don't provide them.
But in the healthcare, we're getting more from foreign, like for example, nursing at Manor and now at the hospital, they're getting people that are coming to, the one that was living with us came to Vancouver, who did her training to get over, to do, so she could write her RNs in Canada. And then she went to a job fair in Moncton and get hired from that and was there. And then there were like 4 of them that came at that time. And so and now she's got through to this next part. So she's looking at bringing her family, her husband and 4 kids, and others are doing the same thing. So if we have the housing, a lot of them, more of them would do that. So it'll be something that we need to be ready for because it is growing. And that's where they're gonna get a lot of their healthcare workers. Sorry. Just on that, wait for a second. I also think that we need to, because I know that ones that they come into APD, a lot of them are coming in and they're starting to bring their families too. So we do need to consider something that we can
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what the building departments were downstairs.
Mhm. Yeah, but then, within the community, how do we welcome, how do we get them involved, and support? There's just being living in an apartment downstairs at the old, like Columbus is not, you've got to do things, yeah. So it's important that we have some kind of a welcoming tool here.
It's interesting, it's the same issues that the smaller communities in Alberta face with
Mhm.
a lot of migrant workers. How do you make people feel like they're part of the community?
Comfortable.
Well,
yeah.
once they get there and things, so.
Well, I was explaining to Fatuma that, and, I was explaining to them that the swimming is free, and they like to swim, the swimming is free, the public skating is free. There's a lot of things that they can be doing that if they're interested in, so.
Ready? 8 reports.
Yeah, it's probably easier to see that on your paper rather than on the screen, reports. And I will have for next meeting too, the well consumption, at Aroostook, to track that to Philip, told the other day, he'll get me the last year and this year's well consumption, in Aroostook, which would be great. So, the good news in that for our electric customers, the first 3 months of the year are down 8.7% consumption with the warmer weather. So that's good for the customers. Other than that, the next page, I sort of put all the projects and stuff that we've got on the go now. Normally I just put whatever 6 or 8, but I thought I'd put the majority of them on just for councils to get an understanding of what goes on at the municipality a bit more. So of course our Spring River Watch, our strategic plan stuff, the flood mitigation funding, the Light Commission birthday that we'll talk about, the proposal we gave for the compressed work week. We're getting a lot of land inquiries that I'll talk about later on. Of course, getting ready for our normal spring wet. Policies and bylaws that we need to start working away at. Spring building permit promotion, we'll talk about that later on. Capital projects, I've currently got pricing from Matt for 3 different line upgrades for council to consider. We're working to finalize the 2022 audit. We've got the upcoming Women's Day event at the Civic Center, plus our annual garage sale. Also in early May, we have the rate hearing and rate design hearings. Doing some tenders for roofing at the library and the fire hall. The water and sewer billing that we just sent out and answering questions on those. Picking up more land transfers now, that's taking up a bit more of my time than the normal with the expanded territory. I think I've got done 1 in town, and I think I'm working on 3 outside the municipality. So that's a nice bonus to see some action in that area. Housing inquiries, we'll talk a bit about later on development of, we have 2 things on our website now regarding possible development in Flatiron and the trailer park. I got inquiries on that, so I need some direction from council on it. We've applied and had energy audits complete at the Civic Center and the Public Works building that we're trying to get funding for the actual upgrades and improvements, and we've looking to put it for proposals. We had a little bit for green generation in the gas tax fund to look at that. Meeting tomorrow with the ELG on the new fire truck funding and the new fire hall if that comes to fruition. And of course, getting ready for our spring, figuring out our paving and chip seal for the year. So those are sort of all the projects we got on the go right now, and not all inclusive list. I'm sure I forgot some stuff off there.
The unsightly dangerous premises, I've had a couple of calls on that I told them to call here.
Yeah, and I've got that on the agenda for later on. Yeah.
Can I just ask, this is a stupid question probably, but how early in the year, like when there's a big hole, should we call the village office when you get complaint about like a fairly big hole that you could lose your tire in?
Yeah, we
Like, I
tell,
know you don't want to do it too early because it just washes out.
well, no, we'd still want to do something temporary. Like again, as we told people, if it's a provincial road, call DTI, and if it's a municipal road, call ours. Like I think in our website, we sort of make it clear whose road's whose. But that's not to say if somebody calls here with a complaint about a pothole, like, if the asphalt plant's not open, we should put some gravel or something, like say, for example, it's on a municipal street. We try to fill the hole temporarily, even though chances are it won't stay,
Yeah,
but we'll,
could you just shoot a message through to.
yeah, anybody, yeah.
Philip, or-
And people too can grade on their website that report a problem at the
Okay,
top, just click on that.
yeah.
A counselor or a resident, just tell them to go in there and send it off. And if it's say, for example, someone puts a complaint in on that, an email on that system, it's a DTI thing. We would probably just forward that email to Dennis Rupp, say, for example, DTI. Sort of saying River's looking after the roads, or for example, Lori Moore in the past, if I get one of those, I would just forward it to Lori, just say, look, here, we got a complaint about your road, type thing.
Just on that point, like the new road up to Schultens, I followed a thread on Facebook where they were just losing their minds.
That's a driveway. It's not a-
Yeah, and that's my thoughts, but, do you think that have they shared with you any ideas that they're gonna resurface that road in a bigger kind of change the angle? Is that, okay, I thought so, but I,
Yeah, we may
It's
end
a
up,
driveway, so-
It's a driveway.
It's so bad.
if they did fix it.
And it lasted, what, a week?
Yeah, okay, so it's back again, so,
It's coming, like you can see like the dip starting back down. I was like, oh man, I come down there this morning.
when it's private property like that, like, you like, last year, I read all this stuff about how, like, of course, they're under construction and they didn't mow any around there, and they just like said, this is coming into this town. And this is what you see, and they were, but. The village, they can call them up, say you should mow your lawn, or, clean it up a bit, but it is a bad.
Yes, it is.
Representation of our town, but it's not village property.
yeah, we did have that conversation
Okay,
last
so
year,
you
for
did,
example,
yeah.
with property owners, but the Schultens are intending, like, they've made a great investment in the community, and they want to do things right there, and they'll, when they're all said and done, I'm sure 100% that road will be redone in a proper manner. The road to the right there, I believe there's a bit of discrepancy on who's to maintain that, but the driveway to Schultens, so I'm 100% sure that'll be resurfaced. We may end up, I talked to their engineer on I requested a complete new site plan showing the road coming down and how they're gonna do that. It is one option. We may want to move the fire hydrant that's at the bottom there. We want to move that a bit out of the way just to give them a better access there, like what we'd like to
You won't
do.
get too much closer to the
No,
exit.
No, just more to get a third lane at the
Yeah.
bottom, like we'd like to have at the bottom, a right and left turn when you're exiting, is the goal there, have something wide enough that would be clearly defined, so people don't have to wait.
Yes.
But, yeah,
That's
but
kind of what I
And
thought,
right.
but I thought that because they are making a wonderful investment into our community, and they're not gonna want it to look like
no,
they did last summer, so.
yeah, they'll
Usually
certainly.
Fulton's doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I
They
thought.
do a good job.
And I believe too, if anyone's running, I believe they're opening on Thursday, I think
Yeah.
is their schedule,
Yeah.
so
Are they having a ribbon cutting or anything, or is that gonna be later date?
I haven't
probably?
heard.
I don't
Yeah.
think this is the official one. This is just
Yeah.
starting and then they'll have
Yeah.
the official.
Yeah, looking good, great.
No, so that, and then I guess I went through the other stuff already. And then the fire report, one thing in the fire report too, Philip did point out on the second page of that, the fire calls that were in or two neighboring municipalities. We had one call in the Grand Falls area and one in the Plaster Rock area that we provide fire protection to. Outside the LSD area that we do for the rural district.
You want reports from meetings? on this? Or-
Yes, yeah, it was,
Um,
at that time, got it?
Isn't that where we?
Yeah, we should be,
it should be on here.
and we should have it on there, maybe on the, going forward. Selby?
We met with the RCP last week with all the other mayors. And their delegates. All of the, I won't get into all of the details in terms of numbers and staffing, but we heard that they're gonna be fully staffed, so there's some staff movement happening with the RCMP, but will be fully serviced. They did a presentation. I think we've seen a copy of the presentation before, just in terms of property plans and the stats. And I'm sure we're gonna PDF copy of it and we can distribute that. We did hear from a public safety individual, who probably interacted with him, Dan Goodwin, I believe his name was. He does the, if there's any questions about billing and such, so that was pretty interesting. Slide presentation that he took through, and the top 3 priorities. As agreed to at the meeting, are community engagement, drug offenses, and property theft or damage to properties. And I guess everybody in the meeting was in agreement that most of those issues stem from
The second
drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
We found that as well in that training that we did with the public. So. Everybody was in agreement too, that it was,
One of the efforts, one of the pushes they're doing is to reach out to school principals. So we'll start to do more engagement through the principals if they're open to it inside of the school system.
kind of like a DARE program again, or,
I think they've recognized that maybe community engagement starts there.
yeah, absolutely.
Does that mean they can come and meet with us all the time, but you know, they need to meet with other people, so.
Very vulnerable second. right?
Yeah.
And if we would like to set up an appointment to have, to have our own meeting with the public or anything going on, we'd be glad to set that up with us. Sarah? Is there anything you want to go over, orientation?
Well, I guess we got to talk about that. There wasn't really, it was just more orientation. It was very well done. Yeah, actually really enjoyed it. So.
Well, there was a lot more about, less working at home and more working at the office is happening.
Oh, yeah, there was quite a bit about how things are changing with the dynamics in the offices again, and COVID's actually gonna be backed out and, or, you know, phased out, kind of like what we talked about too. Working at home is kind of becoming a thing of the past, and people are gonna be required to work. That's kind of some of the things we heard.
And this was at what?
The orientation that we were at.
And that was for what?
Right, we were all fighting.
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was on the thing.
Yeah,
It was during the work week.
Oh,
During the
well,
work
yeah, it was Friday.
it was a Friday, yeah.
It was
I
last
knew it
week.
was happening, but I didn't know anything else about it.
It was kind of the same as the one that we did, but it was just a little more compressed and watching.
I don't think we've had any big things you want to report on, Bill, as we haven't had no meetings yet. Candy,
I haven't had any meetings.
Sheila,
No, maybe some meeting.
yeah.
One of them was tonight, so the library one that. It's on Tuesday.
Oh. We'll have to remember to keep that. Totally. And, I did go down to the 153 with Brandon was there also. Basically, it's, they were trying to come up with ideas on focusing in our area. But they're gonna have other meetings after that, they just kind of got scenarios, like what people were thinking.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's sort of developed a district marketing organization for the area. And sat at a table with Margaret Johnson's staff person. And the irony of it is that the province paid for a study that was released last June with a proposal to develop the DMO for the region. And then as we're sitting at this, the second slide was, well, what do you think about one? It's like, geez, we hired another consultant to do the study that we just did not even a year ago. And so that was kind of I couldn't, I had to leave early, I had another meeting to get to, but I missed the final wrap up at the end there, but it's good, like everybody around talking about tourism in the region.
It's probably, I would say 40, 50 people.
Yeah, and I was a bit with the invites, like looking at who was there and the consultants who were there, they had them in and they toured some of the Carleton County municipalities near Florenceville. Florenceville, Centerville area, the consultants had. I didn't see a lot of tourism operators from Victoria County in attendance. Like Cindy and I were there on behalf of the municipality, and I think there's 2 people there from Plattsburgh on behalf of their community. But other than that, I don't believe there was any tourism operators from Victoria County. And I think that will be a challenge for council to make sure that the RSC remembers that the geographic area they cover goes all the way to Riley Brook. It doesn't end at the 153 and
So I have a meeting on April 26th with Knight in Fredericton, and we on that board. So, which is good, I think that I'm sitting there on that board, because just like Danny said, we want to make sure that this area is included in this upper area with everything.
Good luck with that.
Okay. Okay. Bylaws?
When are we starting on those?
yeah, I guess with those, I circulated some there in that
Yeah.
list earlier, but
Yeah.
Based on all the other projects, it'll be as a when we
Little, when we can get to it.
when we get to the. Yeah, so this is that first motion, the notice of motions we had, and that's, we've talked about the last couple of meetings, the one for the municipalities to have the opportunity to have a municipal plan or a rural plan. That we talked about.
I would move his. I think it's important for us to be able to have a municipal plan instead of a rural plan. Because you're limited if we have a rural plan.
I'll second it.
So. This is just asking for a letter to go there, but I think we need to get public with this too.
So,
Yeah.
any discussion? Bubble,
Is everyone, were you here for the discussion on that? You were?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, this is where the rural, it was under the new reform.
Okay.
It was requiring that all villages had to have a rural plan. We've always had a municipal plan, and it limits us in what we can do, especially land usage and things like that. It really limits us. And so we're having the same problem, talking to Sholton at Maryland. And if they can't get this, they're looking at turning it into the town, because they just can't go to a rural plan.
Yeah, for communities that do that, there's certain perks of remaining a village.
Yeah, that's what he said, that they lose perks.
So
okay,
this is are we adding anything into the bylaw, or are we just voting on? And agreeing to the fact that it will use for contains 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, I guess that our request is that the municipality, I guess, would send a letter asking that the community plan act be amended to give municipalities a choice between the two.
That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're asking for.
See.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're requesting to that.
Yeah, moves a letter be sent to the Minister of Environment, Local Government to request amendment.
okay, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
I've never seen spelling this way. For Zoe, ZOIE.
Was there not a second?
Wasn't there another?
Second motion.
Second motion.
This is this motion for the fire
Oh,
department.
that's the.
73.
73.
No, that's not.
Yeah, motion number entitled 723 Fire Department Member Zoe Plant. And I have,
I might have to express, she's family, I guess, so that would be complicated person. For me.
Yeah.
So, how about now, or you're gonna discuss it now, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Sarah.
I would move the acceptance of.
Hang on. Second, I'm a little slow. Any discussion?
I always feel that if two firefighters and they come from the chief, that they're recommending someone. I would feel that they would know if this one was a valid person to become part of it and already trying, learning some stuff, so I was, they know. Sending it in,
Her background would be excellent too on
Yeah.
the scene.
would be great on the scene of
yes.
the fire, and it's great background.
Yeah.
I think it's a strong candidate.
I think it's nice having women because sometimes they can do.
Yeah.
We can have different.
I feel that we're very lucky. She's a social worker. We have 2 RNs on there, and then, you know, and that's, yeah, we've got a good, very good group of people. So let's ask the, all in favor, say opposed. Carried. There we go. Oh, we have to. Carried there. Oh, sorry, boy. Start putting these out right now. New business, MD power rate increase. Well, you know what, it's not as bad as I expected.
Yeah, it's everyone's aware, we've actually, they applied for 8.9% for an increase, and it got knocked down to 5.7% effective April 1st. And as people probably heard, there's some discussions going on at MB Power. The premier announced that they're looking at possibly entering into strategic partnerships for Mactaquac and also Point Pro facilities. So there's some potentially some big changes coming to MB Power, but those rates, and of course our rates are impacted by that because our rate is hedged big on the wholesale rate to Evanston and St. John. So fortunately for us, we negotiated that our rate increases don't kick in until the next year.
The next year.
Yeah, so January 1st.
So with this, with the plan, they're talking with Quebec and Ontario for that maritime loop. Ontario rates have to decide what it costs to produce power, and then they have a rate for storm damage and all these things, and 2 separate rates within the bill. Would they consider that, because that would make a difference to us, because a lot of the things that they do separately.
Yeah, they're sort of doing some things here with that variance account that
Yeah.
they've opened up now. In this, I see in that press release, I think it's
Yeah.
included in there,
Yeah.
that they're doing a 0.08% decrease on the residential bills for that period. And how those variance accounts work, from my understanding, is that if MB Power has a good year, then maybe there'd be a credit. But if they have a year where they have a lot of damage or repairs or unexpected costs, then it may be an additional surcharge on the bill. So the thought of those variances accounts is that over time, they would net out to 0, so to speak.
So if it's a variance account, does that impact us? Because if they're doing it because of repairs and things like that, that should go on our, what we get a power for.
No, our position with Algonquin, I'm assuming would be that a variance account fee, whether it's a credit or a debit,
Would count.
that really for us is a non-issue because we're not on that system.
That's what I was wondering.
But,
Todd, you there?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was just thinking, I
Yes,
never
I
heard,
am.
Yeah,
I just didn't hear you during the voting, so I just.
He was
Checking.
I just said aye.
Go ahead.
yeah. Other than that, that was all on the MB Power stuff. Next thing on there's the Light Commission birthday. We've got a trivia contest starting tomorrow that people can fill out. It's going to be a Facebook poll, so share with people that there's gonna be multiple choice questions, and people can put their answer in, and we thought we would do, they're gonna go, I guess, for the next 5 days, and then on Monday, that out of all the correct answers we received, we'll put them all in for a draw. And one person, since it's our 120th birthday, we talked about $120 credit on their light bill. Another prize, a 3-month membership to the gym, and a monthly membership to the gym. Just as sort of a way to promote the light commission.
But it's our grid.
Then they give it to somebody they know.
Friendly with someone.
They can sell it. Yeah, I'll buy it for 100. Yeah. No, so yeah, so it's interesting. We get some trivia questions. I will put them up tonight, but that wouldn't be fair to everybody. So it's kind of interesting, just sort of the history of our utility and the piercing too for counselors to participate in things, because there's some interesting facts that people may not know about our utility that we put in these trivia questions and things. So
I had a couple people call and ask about when they were going to be put on preventative power.
yeah, yeah. So that's coming up soon this week.
The amalgamation, they felt that they should be able to be on the power.
Yeah, and we talked about too the water and sewer unit policy review that'll go to the Light and Water Commission to take a look at.
And Todd, are you available on, what date would we put there? The 19th at 6:30? Our time?
Yeah.
Okay, so Danny will send you a link.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and just the dangerous slightly premise thing, I guess I started working on it probably a month ago. Trying to deal with the one local business we're dealing with, I guess both owners this year, trying to get some progress on that file. We sent a notice on that. So I guess with that, and just to explain the unsightly premise notice, is basically you start out sending your polite look, could you fix it up, blah, blah. And by a certain date, and if you fail to, then we'd cite you under the unsightly premise notice. And then after that, it sort of escalates to basically you have 30 days to remedy it. Notice for that for compliance within 30 days, or we'll come in and do the work. But it also gives the property owners an opportunity to appeal the I guess the citing, so to speak. So basically how the appeal works is in our appeal committee is village council with ours, and basically how that would work is if I cite someone as a development officer for unsightly premise, they feel that their property isn't unsightly, then they can come into council and have a little hearing to appeal it. And at that point, so there'd be, I guess, 2 arguments made, one being one by staff saying that the property is dangerous and unsightly for A, B, and C reasons. And then the property owner then could say, well, no, it isn't, or I'll do this, or I don't need to do all that. And then council would be would make the final decision on it. We've only had over the years, maybe, I think 1 or 2 come in for appeals. And it was probably the same property twice, if I had to guess, but so that's sort of how the process works. Now, the good thing, the way the government has changed that, and it's good for maybe perhaps in some cases, the derelict property owners also, because how it works now is if we cite someone for a vacant building, they don't comply, we go through the proper procedures, we give them the deadlines, and then we actually physically go in and tear the building down. How it works now is that we would send the property owners the bill for our costs. So if it cost us $5,000 or $10,000 to do the work, that they would get a bill for that for the municipality. We would send it to them over a 3-month period. From my understanding, after that, we can then take the unpaid bill and the documentation saying, look, we cited them on this date. for compliance. Here's the photos, here's everything we did. We gave them plenty of notice. Here's the bills we sent them after we did the work. And the Department of Finance then will cut a check to the municipality for payment, and that amount will be placed on the property tax bill. So then eventually the province, if the property owner decides they don't want to pay it then the property would go up for a tax sale. So I guess for the derelict property owner, I guess if they don't want to bear the cost of it, they could eventually walk away from the property and not have to pay for the remediation of the lot directly if they, again, walk away from it unless the province takes other further action to collect. So it does give the municipality a bit of a stick to it. And for example, with one that we cited recently, there's some things that need to be to make the building secure. Like typically, if a building needs to be secured, we would give them a week to do it. And if they don't do it within a week, it's the same thing that we would go in and secure the building at their expense. So we might see some work done on that on Thursday this week, I believe. So that's sort of how the enforcement works. And also, and I'll throw it out too for council or anyone in the community, that if people have concerns about a particular property, again, just put it through the report a problem or contact our office and stuff, and we'll certainly take a look at it. We normally wait for this stuff till after spring goes, but some want to get to work on early this spring, just to get it cleared up first early in the spring.
Well, when you say you secure the, so what does that mean? You just, what would you do? Is this like an actively living building, or is it an abandoned place, or?
Well, I think it would depend on the property, so to speak.
Okay.
Like say if it's an abandoned building, say for example, if the place next door didn't have doors on it and people were walking in and out, that we would go screw plywood
Right.
over the doors or broken windows, and the same thing that we will require the property owner do to secure the property. But
When we're in the camera session, I wanted to mention one that somebody called, or I don't think it's here. It's like.
no, right on.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's good. And then one thing the council would look at building permit requirements. Council at some point should take a look at those, our policy on that. Our policy is a bit different than other areas of what we issue building permits for, what we don't. And also, I had it in my report too, that council's got to have this conversation sooner rather than later about the economic development incentives that the former municipality in Perth Andover had. To me, that anyone last year that was talking about projects were sort of promised that. So to me, we would carry those ones, but I guess we have to council to decide whether we want to continue that going forward. And then, of course, then who pays for the incentive? Is it paid for by the entire municipality, the ward it's developed in, those kind of things? Like, for example, if one of the perks is, say, for example, water and sewer, then obviously the water and sewer utility would pay for that. But if there's tax incentives, property tax incentives, who will pay? How will that be divided? Type things. So that'll be something that council wants to take a look at that and figure it out.
So you find that those incentives have a direct relationship with permit requirements? Like any of those incentives, or in general, any increase?
Oh, how impactful they are? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it actually spurs a lot of new construction, or if it's just a way for council to show that they're supportive of development in the community. Yeah, like I don't know of anyone that decided to build a house in town. But whenever we've talked to people about it, they've been like, "Oh, geez, really?"
A lot of times they don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
I think you find that the people with who are working at apartments and things like that, it's an incentive that makes it worthwhile than doing it. Especially that tax.
Yeah.
You spent some data on building permit requirements.
For
Like we don't see like a huge, increase year over year.
yeah, well, I think last year, look, I think I circulated the building permit report, and it fluctuates. Like I think last year we did, I don't know, I'll say over 4 million in building permits last year, but a lot of those are building permits. Are a lot of based on a lot, obviously the bigger projects in town. Chalked up, like I think for example, the electrical work at GTI was 1.2 million or something, for example, for that project, so, yeah. So, yeah, but no, we don't have a huge boom, although I am kind of interested to see this year with the expanded territory, what we get for building permits and the whole enforcement of it. Like, I'd like to prep something for the spring to send out, so that's one of the things I wanted to come here to council the heads up, but I'm going to send something out for council for our next meeting to take a look at what our policy is today. Do we want to leave it the same? This is what everybody else is doing and things, and some of it's around fees too, for example, like for planning and subdivision plans and zoning letters and things like. In the past, where we've just been one small little municipality, we haven't billed a lot of our costs, because if somebody's paying our salaries already, do we need to nickel and dime everybody for a $75 fee and stuff like that? So council should take a look at those fees and stuff. So I think it is going to take it would appear it's going to take a bit more of my time than normal, the planning and building stuff, but that would be interesting. So.
Thanks. So in camera,
I'm moving in camera.
all in favor? Oh,
Aye.
Opposed? There we go, we're done.